Hello, everybody, and welcome to this afternoon's session where art and business collide, imagining uh, urban nature-based solutions for health and well-being. My name is Isabel Fletcher. I work for Horizon NUA. We're a not-for-profit foundation specialising in social innovation, research, capacity building and communications. We're based in Dublin and we're a partner in the Connecting Nature project. Where one of our roles has been to work with city municipalities and their wider stakeholders in identifying financing and business models for their nature-based solutions. Co-chairing the session with me today is Dr. Paulina Georgiou of the Sustainability Research Institute at the University of East London. Paulina is one of the main architects of the Sarajevo process, which is one of the two models we're going to be discussing in this afternoon's session. So, nature-based solutions can be a little bit intimidating, particularly if you're not familiar with the concept. Questions that spring to mind might include, what are they? How much do they cost? Who'll build them? Are they very high-tech? How are they managed? How much time do I have to commit if I'm a volunteer? Or what have they got to do with me in my job as a municipality finance officer?
Today we're going to present two collaborative techniques developed during the Connecting Nature project. Both offer an opportunity to demystify what can feel like a complex and intimidating process when thinking about how to use nature-based solutions. The Sarajevo process is an arts-based approach developed to capture the stories of nature in cities. The city of Sarajevo will share their experience of piloting it and engaging with the elements of the process, which involve creative encounters with the past, present, and future. The business model canvas can be described as another form of storytelling through creating a visual interpretation of the practical considerations needed to complete the business case for nature-based solutions. Houston Community Gardens, based in Glasgow, will share their experience of engaging with this approach and how it has helped them develop their nature-based solution. Finally, our partners for the city of Nicosia have used both tools. We will hear a comparative analysis from them on their experience of using both approaches to develop their nature-based solution. Before we delve much further into each tool and how it is used, let us introduce our panelists this afternoon and invite them to give you a short overview of their nature-based solution for health and well-being that they are delivering in their communities and across their cities.
Great, Paulina. Thank you and welcome to our panelists. So without further ado, I'm just going to pick on one of you to introduce yourselves. And Belma, you're first up.
Thank you very much. Greetings, Sarajevo. I'm Belma Pašić, working in Sarajevo Economic Region Development Agency, and we are one of the 29 partners within the Connecting Nature project. Thank you.
Nermina.
Hello, Nermina, working at the city of Sarajevo, and together with Belma, I'm participating in implementation of Connecting Nature project as part of the team from Sarajevo.
Super, thank you. You're very welcome. It's great to have you with us this afternoon. And we're going to say hello to Eleni from Cyprus.
Hi everyone. I'm Eleni Malikidou. I work for Nicosia Development Agency, proud partner of Connecting Nature project as a project coordinator. My background is in urban planning, regional development, and I did my master's in urban regeneration. Nicosia Development Agency is a public equivalent body, and its shareholders are the 9 municipalities of Nicosia district, the capital of Cyprus. So in few words, if I have time, about Nicosia's exemplar is that concerns the creation of an urban network of linked open and green spaces on a district level, using as a core the National Forest Park of Thalassa. Thank you.
Super, thanks. I feel like I'm in the Eurovision Song Contest here with all of these people coming from all over. Glasgow.
I hope I don't talk too much for the introduction, but hi everyone, my name is Rachel McLaughlin and I work as the Community Activity Organiser for Alzheimer's Scotland based in Glasgow. Just a little background for those that are unfamiliar, Alzheimer's Scotland support people living with dementia and their carers throughout all stages in their journey with dementia. We actually have developed an established allotment group for all of our families, which has been grown in partnership with Glasgow City Council for the last 9 years. The allotment is within a walled community plot in Bellahouston Park alongside 8 other community projects. And actually, if anybody was on a couple of the previous sessions beforehand, we're actually in the same project alongside Richie and the Sacro group. So I was listening to that chat there, so it was a nice little sort of connection there. The gardeners at our group decide what they want to plant, what they wish to do, and we support the gardeners to take ownership in the space. And because our plot has been pretty much well established, we were invited to attend a workshop using the business model canvas for another project, a similar project within Glasgow.
Great, and we'll hear more from that in a while. Paulina.
Thanks, everyone. Just a quick word before we get into the presentations to say if you have any questions, comments, or observations, to please put them in the chat, and we'll try to get to them at the end of the discussion, or the presentations, rather. So just to go into my own presentation now. Are the slides up there? Yep, thank you. So I'll start with a brief overview of the Sarajevo process. Everywhere elsewhere, we have elaborated more deeply on the methodologies and examples. But for today, I just want to give a brief description and allow the two cities to reflect on it from their side. What is the Sarajevo process? It is a co-creative, arts-based engagement process developed within the Connecting Nature project. Its name reflects its co-creative character, as it was piloted and tested in Sarajevo in March 2020, exactly 1 year ago. It was then taken to Nicosia, where it went through a similar co-creative process, and it was delivered in September 2020. The nature of co-creation has meant that each time it was developed in collaboration with the cities to suit the needs and engage with the nature of each city. Both cities will have a chance to tell you about their experiences in a few minutes. The Sarajevo process uses a number of methods derived from the expertise of our core team, Dimitri Oxidis from Trinity College Dublin, Paula Vandegaard from UEL, and myself also from UEL. The methodology is designed to establish or re-establish connections with nature within cities. As each of the cities within the Connecting Nature project work towards their own nature-based solution exemplars, the process aims to revitalize connections to nature and provide a useful tool for engagement. Part of the process has also been tested in an online format to respond to the current circumstances and consider the role of nature during the time of COVID-19. The process invites creative encounters with the past, present, and future, providing space for imaginative and innovative storytelling by the cities themselves. The Sarajevo process is a guided voyage in time and space using the body as a vehicle. The methodology involves memory work, immersion in nature and ecotherapy, body mapping, and continuous embodied reflection. As an arts-based approach, the methods of the Sarajevo process include creative tools for expression, such as writing and drawing, as well as group work and discussions. As you can see from the image here, in Nicosia, we invited an illustrator to record the session as well, adding another layer to the creative outputs. We are currently considering how these creative outputs can be best utilized to maximize engagement and sustain the benefits of the process. We have found that the Sarajevo process is as much about human connection as it is about connecting with nature. Our pilot and testing have indicated that the process is at its most effective when all of the participants become comfortable and vulnerable, when relationships are strengthened through eating and working together, and when the activities are processed in time and space. We therefore see the Sarajevo process as a 3-day transformative venture and look forward to delivering it in more places. If you'd like to hear any more about the Sarajevo process, please get in touch with myself or any of my colleagues, or we're happy to also talk in the chat. In the meantime, can I invite Belma and Nermina from Sarajevo to tell us about their experiences with the Sarajevo process?
Okay, I'm not sure. I think, do we have a technical issue here? We should have a video.
It might just be.
Hello, greetings from Sarajevo, and thank you for your interest and opportunity to present our work within the Sarajevo process. Nermina and Leila from the city of Sarajevo and Belma from Serda will share our work and importance of the process for us and our further activities. Our colleagues already explained how the process went, but what we would like to mention that the whole process was very private and emotional, but we worked in a small group and we shared it with the rest of the team. On the first day of the workshop, we did memory work. Each of us brought a photo and we told a story behind it. Not just a simple story, but also what it meant to us. On the second day of the workshop, prior to body mapping exercise, we visited Trebević mountain near Sarajevo and did ecotherapy and immersion in nature exercise. Main word describing this part of the day was mindfulness. Also, we felt relaxed and full of good energy. After ecotherapy and immersion in nature, we were dedicated to body mapping. Body mapping included our individual work where we presented our feelings, symbols related to the nature and what all that meant to us. On this slide, you can see all of our body maps, and although each of these is different, we all have something in common. Our next steps include implementation of this methodology in the exemplar we designed within the Connecting Nature project. Our ambition is to develop Green Garden, which will encourage community engagement, be a catalyst of intergenerational exchange and cooperation, and most importantly, provide a space place for learning, formal and informal. Its location is in Children's House in Sarajevo, with the size of approximately 200 square meters, surrounded by busy street and pedestrian lane next to the river. It will have multifunctional purposes, place to grow flowers and vegetables, to protect biodiversity, and for the children to provide a safe place to play. Sarajevo Exemplar will be implemented in cooperation with Children's House to work with children and elderly people, but also with other target groups. We aim to create a sustainable model of the Green Garden, which will be replicable through the city and other areas in our country. Within the garden, we will include the Sarajevo process. The Sarajevo process for us represents great tool and methodology for involvement of various stakeholders in our exemplar. Our main aim is to bring nature into cities and connect with the nature, but also to create a model which will connect people again. That would be all from our side. Thank you for your kind attention, and we hope you enjoy the presentation. Stay safe and all best from Sarajevo.
Great. Listen, thank you, Balma and Nermina, for that lovely short video of your experiences in using the Sarajevo process. And I can already see on the chat there's an awful lot of interest in the work that you've done, and also in the whole process. So now that we have actually, I suppose, whetted your appetite and stimulated your creative artistic senses, I want to turn our attention now to another tool which can be used when co-producing a nature-based solution, and that's the nature-based, the business model canvas for nature-based solutions, rather. What is it, and why should you complete one for your nature-based solution? But before I delve in too deeply, I just want to draw your attention to, I suppose, the European Commission definition for nature-based solutions, which are, solutions that are inspired and supported by nature, that are cost-effective and simultaneously provide environmental, social, and economic benefits and help build resilience. And just keep those in mind as I explain the business model canvas to you now. So as you can see on the screen, you can see the business model canvas template and our guidebook that has been developed alongside it. And quite simply, the business model canvas is it's another way to allow you to tell the story of your nature-based solution and to explain how the different elements work together to deliver value to the end user, and how you could potentially make money from, or in some cases reduce costs and capture the value of what it is you're offering through your solution. But we're often asked the question, why would you use a business model canvas for a nature-based solution? And there are a number of reasons why. Firstly, perhaps as a communications tool. We've already talked a little bit about how people are unfamiliar with the concept of nature-based solutions. And the canvas actually provides a simple way of telling people what you're going to do what you want to do and why you want to do it through the activities and the resources, who needs to be involved through the partners and the beneficiaries, and how you're going to make it happen. Okay, so that's really, through the value proposition and then looking at all the costs, etc. We use language, I suppose, that's widely understood by people from many different backgrounds. So we really do try to drill down and create a common language that people can then use to share to share across and between stakeholders. It's a useful planning tool. It's a useful first step for individuals or groups in planning their implementation of their nature-based solution. And it helps everyone consider the basic building blocks to build a long-term sustainable project. The canvas can also be used to help identify new partners, because if you take and consider the value that the nature-based solution offers to different groups of people, and when you're identifying who those partners and potential beneficiaries might be, those people, those groups might actually be interested in getting involved in the planning, implementation, and the long-term stewardship or management that we spoke so much about yesterday of your nature-based solution. It can help you explore new sources of finance, combining, if you take the reflections on what the value of the nature-based solution is, along with the identification of those key partners or beneficiaries, you could potentially identify new sources of perhaps capital funding, or perhaps identify partners who can assist with the funding of the ongoing costs or contribute to the cost reduction. So the nature-based solution business model canvas is really based on the three building blocks of the value proposition that you see here in the centre, key activities and key resources, which is around the value creation and delivery, and combining that with the partners and the beneficiaries, and then the value capture, where we look at the costs in great detail. But crucially, I think what sets it apart from the traditional business model canvas, sorry, I'm too fast there, is that we don't just look at the nature-based solution from the perspective of the end user. In line with that EC definition, we look at the nature-based solution through the lens of the environmental, social, and the economic factors. Okay, consistent with that EC definition that I spoke about a few minutes ago. So, since the business model canvas for nature-based solutions was developed by Siobhan McQuaid of Trinity College, one of the Connecting Nature coordinator partner, we in Horizon, along with Trinity, have delivered business model canvas workshops across all 10 of the Connecting Nature cities. Working with our colleagues and their internal colleagues across departments to help break down the silos and create that shared story of their nature-based solution. In addition, the business model canvas workshops, we've tailored them for delivery to community groups for smaller scale interventions, and external stakeholder workshops where we're demonstrating live nature-based solution scenarios that have been delivered at multiple events across Europe. Obviously, over the last year, our ability to deliver face-to-face workshops has been impacted, but the business model canvas and the guidebook is available to download online from the Connecting Nature website, and indeed has been downloaded over 150 times so far. The canvas and the guidebook are also available in Spanish, and we can provide introductory webinars to groups and communities and city municipalities who are looking to roll it out. So that was really just a whistle-stop tour of, I suppose, a business, a more practical maybe approach to imagining and beginning to create and tell your story of your nature-based solution. I'm going to ask Rachel McLaughlin now to join me on stage. Rachel is with Drumchapel Community Garden, and Rachel took part in the Business Model Canvas workshop in Glasgow last year. And I'm just waiting for Rachel to join me on stage.
Hello.
Here you are. Lovely to see you. How are you, Rachel?
I'm doing well.
I thought I was going to be asking and answering the questions there.
No, not at all. I'm still here. Unfortunately, don't have a lovely video to sort of showcase what we've sort of done, but hopefully I can describe as best I can with my words that you can get a nice visual of our experience from Bellahouston, but also from the workshop as well.
Great. Well, look, you did take part in that workshop, and that was delivered by Siobhan from Trinity College, who I know is watching and putting links up on the chat there. Tell us your experience about how you found it coming at the business model canvas from a I suppose an external stakeholder point of view.
Yeah, well, obviously I'm coming at it from, I'm based in the community. It's what I do. I'm a community practitioner, and my sole role is based on working with families in the neighbourhoods and stuff. So due to the success of our Bellahouston demonstration garden, I was invited to attend the session to share our experience to support the new nature-based project in the northwest of Glasgow, which is called the Grow Chapel project, obviously using the business model canvas. Must admit, I hadn't heard anything about a model originally before the workshop, so I wasn't too sure what to expect, but I was really looking forward to seeing what was there to offer and sort of to connect with the other community projects as well. I'd also like to make a point just now as well that although our Bellahouston project was created before the workshop, actually during the workshop we found that the model was really useful for our own project, with a focus of constantly reviewing our own key partners and activities, and also the cost and revenue opportunities as well, in order to adapt and sustain for our own future. And I feel that this shows that the model can be used as an original setup, but also for the advancement and sustainability for any of the existing projects. So I felt like that was quite a good thing from it. Our input into the workshop at the Grow Chapel project, it focused on what went well with our own Bellahouston allotment and what key resources we couldn't do the project without. From this, the emphasis was on the benefits of strong community partnership working and joint funding opportunities that the whole project could then benefit from. And I think that having the input from different community projects within these allotments allows these communities to work together in ways that they might never have done before. So an example of this is our group only meets once a week when we ever go down, but the other community projects support our gardeners by watering our plot, and like there's just a general sharing mentality around all the projects. And this also relates to this year, where our families have been unable to attend their garden completely because of the COVID-19 pandemic. So the groups that have been able to be on site have looked after our plots, so that when we are able to meet up again, there's not a huge amount of cleanup for us when we eventually get down there. Great. But I feel like that sort of got brought up as well, that it's able to see, sorry, I've missed a bit there.
No, you're fine. It's fine. Don't
yeah, so
going back.
Of course.
There's a little bit of a time lag. Sorry, Rachel. But can I ask you a question? Because you did the business model canvas, but has it changed your story, or has it helped you identify any new opportunities or new stakeholders or partners? Or
I think what it has done is drill home how important that community connection is with other projects. When we had the allotment, we never normally sort of use that allotment as a sole basis of we were just solely working on our own. And I feel like that's the sort of strength that these allotment gardens have, that it is different types of community partners all working together for the same common goal. We might have different days that we go down, we might have different backgrounds, but we're all in this together and we're all sharing and we're all seeing the benefit of that. And not only do the families and all of the individuals coming along to these like gardens and nature solutions as well, they get the benefit, but the neighbourhood does as well. Like you can see the difference that having these allotment spaces here has in the overall community. So definitely, and I think that it just strengthens that bond that you have, and it sort of puts that value on that. Yeah, definitely.
Another question I have for you then, I suppose, thinking about it from more of a financial point of view, has it helped you kind of think about how you fund this garden and how you keep it going and the long-term sustainability of it?
Yeah, so that was definitely in the front of our mind with all of this, and especially with the Grow Chapel project, for a project that has been is new, and it's obviously we've been established for a good 9 years or so. And actually, when I started at the allotment, a lot of the sort of groundwork has already been put in place for that. So our sort of extra fundraising was coming in to sort of benefit and sort of change our space. So like we got extra funding to make the garden more dementia inclusive as well. And I know a lot of the other allotment plots were the same. And I think during the workshop, we kind of sort of like, it was moving, like it was sort of having that focus on joint funding applications as well, so that it's not just the individual plots that are having, like say Alzheimer's Scotland, we're not just having our like sort of fundraising applications or anything, we're getting help by Sandy at the council as well, we're getting help by a lot of other community initiatives that will sort of fund certain things going through, and it means that all these different community plots can sort of benefit from that in the long run.
Super. Listen, thanks for that really insightful, in-depth 5-minute contribution. Really appreciate you taking the time to join us this afternoon.
No, thank
Paulina,
you for having me.
Not at all, and we're going to probably have loads of questions for you now. Anyway, over to Paulina.
Hi, thank you so much. That was very interesting. Eleni has, they've experienced both of these collaborative methods. So we'd like to kind of invite Eleni from Nicosia to tell us a little bit about their experience of both methods.
Hi again. Well, both collaborative techniques that were applied in Nicosia were surprisingly useful and helpful in a very different way. I say surprisingly because as we were used, let's say, in applying more traditional techniques and methods in all stages of the projects we work on, and the fact that these two new for us innovative techniques helped us to move one step forward, have added value first on the further development of our professional team, broaden up our knowledge, and of course to the implementation of the project. Concerning business model canvas, it helped us in a more practical way, if that makes sense. It helped us to understand the structure and to structure better our exemplar, to prioritize immediate actions, resources, to identify who the partners and involved actors will be in each phase, to set priorities for implementation, the tasks to be delivered. Also, it helped us to build up a common understanding, but also a common language in order to communicate more effectively as a team first, but also with the involved stakeholders and actors in each phase of the project. We really enjoyed the process, and after the session with Isabel, we felt like taking one step forward, as we were a bit confused and stuck on that time being on how to approach this very complicated exemplar, because we had the network, the wide plan, and then we had the smaller projects that were the parks. So it was really helpful. We after the application of BMC, we felt more confident as a team on how to proceed on what was next, let's say. Concerning the Sarajevo process, the experience was very different. Even though at the beginning our team did not fully understand the reasons and the scope behind this exercise, during the process's development, we started realizing the benefits to gain in let's say, two dimensions. The first one concerned the implementation of the exemplar, as we had the chance to spend quality time as a team in the nature. And when I say nature, I mean the parks and locations we have identified and included in our exemplar, the places we were planning and we're planning to invest in through this project. And the second one is related on how our team may work together in a very different manner, how art and nature helped each one of us to unlock a new perspective and utilize our personal experiences and memories to approach and express in a fruitful way and to contribute in the overall team's tasks. As you, Paulina, very rightly pointed out during your visit in Nicosia, we have managed as a team by the end of the session to see our exemplar in a very different perspective with new eyes.
That's great. Thank you so much. Really interesting. So I think we're going to open up the discussion now slowly. So I'll just give Isabel some time to maybe collect some questions from the chat, and I'll start with a couple of questions. Is that okay?
Sure. That's fine.
So can I ask, because I know that the Sarajevo team has also experienced both approaches, so can I ask what you think the strengths and weaknesses are to either approach? Could you go first? I think it's Belma answering for Sarajevo right now, and then Nermina.
Yeah, it's me.
Thank you.
Me again. Thank you for the question. It's quite interesting what you asked. From our perspective, what we can say that both processes provided us a new approach to various stakeholders. We had a tool how to work with them and to involve them, and how to provide active involvement of the stakeholders, and how to strengthen our team which works within the project. And also this helped us to raise interest on project activities, especially during the definition of the exemplar, which will be implemented within the project. I have to say that business model canvas especially for us is a new way to define project and activities, as it provides comprehensive approach. And also it contributes to minimizing risks at the very beginning of the project defining, and it provides us also all the elements that we need to take care of within the definition and then later of the project implementation. As I said earlier, I have to say that Sarajevo process was really something very special for us, and I think that we will be ready to use it for our exemplar when we implement it.
Thank you. Eleni, was there something you'd like to add about the strengths and weaknesses of each of the processes?
To be honest, I have identified more strengths than weaknesses, and I want to focus on them.
That's great.
Concerning business model canvas, it helped us. It helped on building up a common understanding and a common language in order to communicate better throughout the planning and implementation phase of the project. And in our case, it was really helpful. Where the project was very demanding, it helped in structuring each phase and organizing all the tasks. On the other hand, Sarajevo process helped each member of the team to unlock hidden gems, let's say, of the brain, and approach in a very different way a project that the team works on.
That's lovely, thanks. Isabel, do we have any questions lined up, or should I continue?
Keep going. Lots of comments, lots of interest in the Sarajevo process. So I think you'll be getting lots of inquiries after, and we'll put up our contact details at the end. And I think we've already put up links to both the process and the business model canvas in the chat. So lots of interest in both just the process and people wanting to find out more about the webinar, so they can contact me directly afterwards, put something in the chat, or contact me through the summit about that. So I'm just still scrolling my way through the comments.
I'll keep going, and then
we'll come back to you. You keep going.
Yeah, thanks. Okay, so we know that the business model canvas works internally, helping to break down silos between departments and facilitating co-production with external stakeholders, and for nature-based business in developing their business model. So what opportunities do you feel the Sarajevo process presents to those who have tried it already? Belma, can I come to you?
Yes, of course. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you for the opportunity to also answer this question. I think that provides us new opportunities. For example, it provides us a new approach to the different target groups. As you could see in our presentation, we intend to develop the example we will have intergenerational exchange. So we think that this process can be also applied in connecting different target groups, for example, children and elderly people. Also, the Sarajevo process will enable key stakeholders in our city to tell the story of the nature in our city. Also, it will provide us and make it easier to engage with the citizens, to hear their stories, which is important, and to create connection with the citizens within the city. And also it will enable us to design nature-based solutions which will address particular challenges in the city. In this way, we hope to contribute to solving issues that our city has. For example, we think that we will contribute to the minimizing air pollution, providing more green spaces within the urban city area, and so on.
Thank you. Eleni, did you have a response to the question?
Well, I agree with Belma. Most of it, I agree fully with Belma. What I can add is that Sarajevo process helped a team to unlock, as I said earlier, a new perspective on what is already been working on, for example, a project or a task, through memory, psychotherapy, and art in the nature, where other senses are activated and affect what brain is being processing. So it really helps to see a different, in a different way, what you are working on, even if it's a nature-based solution project or anything else you are working on.
Okay. Thank you.
I can jump in here now with some questions. Yeah. The questions are starting to arrive. Great positive comments. I'll feed those in later. Here's a question for the panel. Which should come first, the Sarajevo process or the business model canvas? Who wants to answer that one?
I can start. I have an idea. Well, I don't believe that each of the process can be applied in different, let's say, stages of the project. I strongly believe that these tools can be quite useful in several stages of the project, from the inception to planning, implementation, even monitoring phase. The application of these tools in each phase will add value in a different way. For example, if in the inception of a project, the Sarajevo method would be really helpful to brainstorm with the team and approach the idea with more freedom. On the other hand, if we use business model canvas during the inception phase of a project, we will help the team to structure the idea and move one solid step forward, if that makes sense.
Does any input from Sarajevo who've tried it twice? Or have also tried both models?
Yeah, I have to agree with the Eleni regarding her opinion on both processes. And what I also think that, as I said, the business model canvas is preferred to be completed at the beginning of planning activities, because in that way we can see what are the things that we have to fulfill, and so what are the dimensions within the project, also how to minimize risks, isolated monitoring, for instance, involvement of the key stakeholders and actors that can provide systematic support and institutional support, and also in the part where we can talk about financing projects and how to involve but actively involve all stakeholders which are related to our activities.
Okay, great. Rachel, popping a question to you now, because I know you have experience of the business model canvas from sort of a mature project point of view, and I think it's it's great to see that that can be used as it can be used as sort of any phase really, I suppose, or it can be applied as any phase. Your thoughts on the Sarajevo process from what you've heard and its applicability to the community that you work with? Or the communities.
Honestly, like from the onset of your video as well, my initial thought was my families that I work with directly would love this. It really taps into, especially from our side of things, where we work with individuals who are living with dementia, and a huge part of that is storytelling, and a huge part of that is also connecting them back into nature and back into their local communities, and it summarized everything that we also stand for. So actually, it actually made me feel quite excited. if that was another process that we could also sort of dip our toes in the water and see if that would work with us, because I know from our allotment side of things, we were hoping to adapt a couple of our spaces and stuff to make it more sort of sensory in a way, like with the gardening side, like a side thing. And I think that the art led sort of connection there with nature would really tap into that. So yeah, it does sound like a wonderful project. I'm quite jealous. You should have managed to have that.
To a city near you soon.
Yes.
Another question, it might tie in a little bit, but what has been the panel's experience in having people who might be reluctant to access the nature-based solutions? I suppose really the Sarajevo process, maybe in terms of engaging people to draw on their experiences. What do you think? Is it a way to encourage people to participate, or is it a bit intimidatory?
Yeah, well, if I'm kind of responding for this question, I think the Sarajevo process has been mainly used so far in the city teams. So in the teams that are already engaging with nature. But I think it could provide a space for kind of an invitation for people to participate. And it is a process which I think, as I said in my presentation, it's a 3-day process. If you do the whole thing, and it's kind of leading people towards being more open and more vulnerable. And as Eleni said, there were examples of people who were kind of more reluctant to express themselves creatively, but it came out great. And I think by the end of the 3 days, they were engaging, and they were using creativity in ways where they didn't think was in them. So I think it just, if people are open to give it a go, there's opportunity there to open them up and to get the most of it. I don't know if any of the cities want to jump in.
I think Eleni described it perfectly when she said that it's really unlocking a new perspective. So that's really, even those who are reluctant, even we were reluctant at first, but it just opens up so many new findings and new discoveries. So I think it's a great model even for those who doubt the connection with nature.
Super, great. Yeah, and I just,
yeah,
I mean,
what would...
Go on, Belma.
Sorry, my voice is late. I just wanted to add that also, because Nermina told what she said, that also it strengthens connection between members of the team, you know, which is really important. And I think that, for example, this even provided us better cooperation of the SERDA and the city of Sarajevo, not only because of using these tools, but I think it really contributed to be more open and to be more cooperative and you know, to work more and to experiences and opinions and so on. Sorry for interrupting.
No, I don't. It's not you, Belma. There's a time lag on the thing, so we're talking over each other at times. Another question, more related specifically to the business model canvas that's coming in, and this will apply to all of you that took part in this. What, before you did the business model canvas, what did you fear most, and what did you think you would get out of it? That's kind of Rachel. I'll put you on the spot.
It's the fear of the unknown, isn't it? Like, because I think as well from our perspective, we've already had that. I know I keep saying that, but we already had our allotment sort of established, and it was really exciting to know that there was other plans and the work to sort of replicate a similar project to that. But then being asked to participate in it from, I'm a community practitioner, so like from that side of things, it's like, what do you expect? What's going to be expected of myself, or like our experiences and stuff like that. And honestly, the workshop was so engaging. It was so friendly. It was such a nice way to see all different community partners, all again working for the same common goal as well. And you end up leaving quite invigorated and quite excited about what you're actually talking about. And like, obviously the business model canvas in comparison to the art-based like model, like it does look very much like a business model canvas, but like it breaks it down into such simplistic ways and such building blocks that a big project then becomes more like sizable, and it becomes better down, like sort of easier to digest and easier to actually be like, actually we can do this, like there is going to be a solution for this and a way forward and stuff. So I definitely recommend it, even if you are a bit nervous about it.
Okay. And I think even in Sarajevo, because I came out to Sarajevo and we did the business model canvas, and within a matter of weeks you applied it to another exemplar, and I think it's fair to say,
Yes,
I mean,
exactly.
you didn't need any guidance to do it. It was so you were able to take the practical application and run with it. Having done it once, you were able to apply it to a different scenario.
Yes, and I think it's important that during the workshop we went through the business model canvas step by step, which was a good approach, that we do it one part and then the other part, but all that in the final stage to connect and to see that every part of the business model canvas is related to each other and the same important, you know. So as we changed the first one, we could apply it immediately on the second one. And I have to say that at first we were a bit scared. Will we be able to do it, you know? But I think that we did it very successfully. And I think it's very useful now for us when we are approaching to the implementation of the example.
Okay. I have another question for you, kind of again related to the business model canvas, then I'll let you in, Paulina, because I think you want to ask something. In terms of breaking down silos, and Eleni, I'll target this one at you, in terms of communicating that story of your nature-based exemplar to other departments within the city municipality, how has it worked? Has it made life easier for you?
Yes, it really helped. First of all, in our team, because some of our members were, let's say, familiar with nature, but they understood the term. But there were people who were working in our team who were still confused of of the terminology. So it was really helpful for us to, as I earlier mentioned, to create this common language in the team first, in order to be able to communicate all the activities to all the departments we were working with. For example, the forest department, the Department of Environment, the people from the municipalities that we wanted to help us on applying all the plans and the actions we had. So it was very helpful, because we have managed to find a way on how to explain some things, because it was difficult from the team to pass the message to the other actors. So by understanding first our team what these nature-based solutions are and how we will communicate these terms and our project to the involved actors, this was really helpful in order to communicate it better, because we understood it better. We understood how to communicate it better. So yeah.
Super.
And
Great.
just to mention, I wanted to mention earlier, because regarding the business model canvas and Sarajevo process, that if COVID-19 allows us, we're planning to apply the business model canvas method for some of our individual projects, for example, Lurca Forest, in nature. We won't be able to apply Sarajevo process, but if we arrange, let's say, a visit at Thalassa Forest Park with the team of the close team of Nicosia first, in order to work on the business model canvas for Lurca Forest project, we wish that the memories from the Sarajevo process will come up and help to achieve, let's say, better results on business model canvas. We will combine, let's say,
combine the two.
I don't know if it will work. I'll tell you when we do.
You can be our first piloted case study on a joint the art and business in action.
Yes.
Just some other comments coming in here. I just mentioned to you Gillian from Glasgow, who loved the business model canvas process. She's looking forward to learning about the Sarajevo process. She said, when we did the business model canvas on our open space strategy, her planning colleagues couldn't get a word in as the parks colleagues got really excited. Who else? There were other wonderful comments. Love the body mapping and the memory work. So important to understand the emotional attachment our environment stimulates within us. And I think so. And funny, if I can speak from a personal experience, I can almost relate to that in the at a recent Nature of Cities summit. We did the body mapping, or we did the Sarajevo process. A very tight, short workshop on it, and it was. Condensed workshop, that's the word, Paulina. And it evoked such a reaction. And we did it online, it was virtual, but honest to God, it stimulated something remote, almost awakened the senses in terms of, I'm not quite sure, I'm still kind of maybe processing it a month later as it did, but it really hits home. It really hits home in terms of that evocativeness.
Yeah, that's great to hear.
Yeah. We say art is so important to understand our emotional interdependency with nature. There you are. Do you know of any initiatives in this direction in Brazil or Latin America? I'm not sure whether that question applies to the business model canvas or to the Sarajevo process, but suffice to say that we do have, through the Urban by Nature programme, and this may have been answered in the chat again, through the Urban by Nature programme, we do have a hub in Brazil, so there are a series of webinars there, and certainly the business model canvas is covered in that one, and I'm sure Paulina and her colleagues will talk to the Urban by Nature team in Italy around the Sarajevo process. Okay. Any other final comments before we wrap up the questions and answer session from any of our panelists? No, and there's actually one final question that's after coming up on the chat, just in case. Here's one. I'd like to ask the panelists, says Siobhan, how they think either process could be improved.
I'll take notes.
Who'd like to take it? You go with that one, Paulina.
I mean, I can only really talk about the business model canvas, but I mean, nothing's really coming to mind because it is such a positive experience that I had from the workshop and what we got from it and stuff like that, and how it does sort of connect you to a lot of different viewpoints as well as opening up different channels and stuff like that. But no, very, very positive.
Excellent. Okay. Well, look, I think thank you, everybody. I thank the panelists, thank the questions that are coming up. We're just going to start to wrap up this session now. And just a little, I suppose, Paulina and I were planning this workshop. We came up with a slide that we're going to share with you now around, I suppose, the similarities and perhaps differences between the Sarajevo process and the business model canvas. So, it's very much, I suppose, both of them can be identified as a co-production tool. And I don't think the business model canvas was designed actually to be a co-production tool from the outset, but it is certainly merged into one. Both can facilitate storytelling too a bit. Personal experience central to the process, definitely in the Sarajevo process, and I have seen it brought into the business model canvas. I'd say it's less central to the process, but it's definitely there. Obviously, in terms of using nature, that's what the whole Sarajevo process is about, and using an arts-based tool. And with the business model canvas, I mean, it has been tested with multiple end users at this point. It's market ready. We know the Sarajevo process is at a much earlier stage of development, but we'll be approaching that market readiness level in the near future. I do think after this session this afternoon, we will be going back, I think, to add to this in terms of the similarities and the uniqueness of each approach as well. To add to this, and we will put this slide up on the Connecting Nature website as well, so people can come and visit and have a look. Just again to thank you. I think some of these links have already gone into the chat, and if not, I'll put them in there now. But obviously all the information is on the Connecting Nature website, and there are specific links then to the Sarajevo process and the business model canvas for those of you that are interested. So thank you. Thank you to everybody for tuning in.